that I've learned a lot in the last hour and 10 minutes about what to do and what not to do. And I'm going to write a big memo to myself, put it on a sticky note and put it on the top right hand corner of my screen. Unmute, it's going to say. So I'm just waiting to go live on Amazon, and we're ready to go live. So we are live on Amazon, and what could possibly go wrong? Okay. When I appeared on screen a few moments ago at 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK, I made the fatal error, which I've made once before, of actually playing a video in the broadcast, and it was the one about Porchester Castle. And I played the video and then forgot to switch my microphone back on. The result of that is that basically Amazon says it's a bit quiet around here, and after 7 or 8 minutes, the feed is actually cut off on Amazon, and you can continue wherever else you're broadcasting, but you can't continue in Amazon. Now, before I started broadcasting on Amazon, if there was a problem, what I would do is I would go live straight away. Okay, I'd set everything up in my below studio. Within about 5 minutes, go live again. Doesn't work on Amazon Live. You can't go live again within minutes. What you've got to do is wait at least an hour, set everything up for an hour in advance, so that it's time for people to actually see your broadcast in the upcoming shows. Because if you don't do that, then nobody sees you, because the only way people find you is through upcoming and live shows. And if you're not featuring in upcoming, well, I've learned a great deal in the last hour and a quarter about going live on Amazon, and it's the only way really is to actually learn. So I'm going over to Amazon now. I'm going to type in hello, so you know it's me. Now, when I go over, anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be now. When I do go over to Amazon, which I will do during the broadcast, I'll put my hand up and let you know and say hello again to Chris, who's got endless patience. Thank you, Chris. But these things are sent to try us, and it's only when you do something wrong, you've got two choices. You either fold up your tent and go home, or you say, right, I'm going to learn from this. I'm actually going to make it right. And that's what I'm attempting to do now. This is a correction of an earlier mistake, which led to another mistake. So always switch your sound back on after you've played a video, and never go live straight away. Wait for an hour and schedule the broadcast so that people have time, you as viewers have time to actually find out I'm actually going live. Because the only two bits that matter on the Amazon Live page are live now and upcoming lives. And if you see a live now and you see people watching it, brilliant. If you see a live now and nobody's watching it, then you go to the next video, and that's more than understandable. So I've learned those two lessons. But that said, let's move forward, and I just need to find my agenda. I've got my sea legs back again, and we're underway. And whatever happens from now on, it's got to be good. So welcome to the show, and this is Touring England with Stephen, part 3. This is take 3. Okay. So establish that. Now, during this broadcast, I'm talking about traveling in England, and hopefully it will become easier for us to travel in the USA and travel in England in the coming months. That's what we're all hoping for, as vaccination rates go up, to be able to travel. This broadcast is about what to look for when you come to the UK. Now, there are two organisations, because one of the reasons for coming to UK is to check out the history of the UK and find out how people lived in centuries gone by. English Heritage is one of two main organisations which actually look after. It is what it says. It's English Heritage. It actually looks after our English heritage. Now, what I'm going to do, I've just got a message coming in. I'm not sure whether it's related to this broadcast or not. Just let me check. The only thing that could possibly go wrong from now on is that the battery on my iPad could disappear, but we'll not worry. That can't happen, can it? Yes, it can. The strange thing about iPads is that people don't switch them off. The battery lasts for so long between charges. Okay, but that's the other thing. I didn't actually charge my iPad today, so fingers crossed. Okay, and the second organisation that takes care of properties in the UK, this is country houses and national monuments, is the National Trust. And again, like English Heritage, it's run by subscription, by donation. And those are the two organisations which operate. And jointly, they operate Stonehenge, which we visited a couple of weeks ago, and Avebury as well, which is a second stone circle, which is not as well known as the Stonehenge one, but is certainly worth a visit. I'm in Wiltshire in England, and just to confirm, you are watching Stephen Healy live from Wiltshire in England. I'm broadcasting from a Be Live studio, and I'm going to take you to a couple of properties on the English Heritage site and a couple of properties on the National Trust site. Hope that the batteries go, and I'm not playing any videos until the end of the broadcast. So my mic should work all the time. Have you ever had those days when things don't go exactly according to plan? This is one of those, but we'll soldier on. And that's apt because I'm going to bring in, I'm going to hide that. So just to confirm, this is Touring England with Stephen, and today it's Country Houses and Castles. And this is the English Heritage site. I'm going to hide the card because you don't need to see that because it's got the wrong time on it, because it should have been earlier, but no, it's now. And I'm going to go picture in picture. Okay, so this is the English Heritage site. I'm going to shrink myself so you can actually see a bit more of the picture. I've got a screen share going on, and I'm sharing the website. And if you look on my Facebook profile, you'll find links to the sites that I'm going to show you, but only two today: English Heritage and National Trust. Okay, now English Heritage, as you can see, are responsible for Stonehenge. If you're a National Trust member, you can also visit for free. So they work in tandem on that site because it is a national monument. And we were there about 8 weeks ago, and we'll probably go in a couple of weeks' time. Now you can see Stonehenge on the map. It's on the right-hand side of the map, and it says Stonehenge. That's where Stonehenge is. And Angelica and I live 20 miles away from there. In fact, we live close to Stonehenge and Woodhenge. And Old Sarum. Old Sarum is the first Salisbury cathedral. It was built on a hilltop, and you can visit there today. You can see the ruins of the old cathedral, and it is quite a windswept place. It's fairly exposed, and it was the forerunner of Salisbury Cathedral, so we're close to there as well. Bottom left-hand side, you can actually see and make out Cornwall and the properties in Cornwall. Now, English Heritage are properties throughout the UK they're responsible for. And we pay subscriptions and we make donations for everything to actually go ahead. And they are responsible for maintaining the properties. So I'm going to go over to the English Heritage site, and I'm going to type in Lancashire. And I just need to put the correct spelling in. So let's go with Lancashire. And Lancashire is my home county. I was born in Burnley in Lancashire. And Lancashire, well, historically fought the War of the Roses against Yorkshire, Red Rose against White Rose. And I think in a previous episode, we visited Sawley Abbey, That's where my son and daughter-in-law got married. We've got the old rectory, and I'm just going through, and I'm going ones that will be of interest to us. So you can see all the sites are listed, the beautiful photographs, and you can scroll through, and I'm just going to go to the second page, and Shap Abbey, Bruff Castle, Ravenglass Roman Baths, and scrolling down a bit further, we come to Richmond Castle. Let's take a look at Richmond Castle. Now, Richmond is in Yorkshire in England. It's about 130 miles from London. So if you come over here and you're actually in London, then you can get there by train. You can get there by bus. You can get there by car. You still, as you can see, you still need to book your visit. But let's have a look at the story of Richmond Castle. Now, Richmond Castle, let's have a look at the history. That will tell us a little bit more. Towering above the River Swale in the heart of the Yorkshire Dales, a beautiful place, worth a visit. Richmond Castle has been an imposing site since its foundation in the 1070s. Castle is one of the finest and most complete 11th century fortresses in the country, with a history that spans centuries from the Norman conquest in 1066 to the First World War. Now, facts that we should know. Castle was begun in 1070s by Alan Rufus. It's the best preserved early Norman castle. 16th century, it was derelict, and it remained derelict for 300 years. But then artists, including J.W. Turner, were inspired by the castle's ruin. And in the Victorian era, the castle became the headquarters of the North Yorkshire Militia. The founder of the Boy Scouts, Robert Baden-Powell, who was born on the 22nd of February, which is my birthday too, was the commander there. And during the First World War, the castle was occupied by the northern non-combatants. Okay, so you can tour the castle, and these are beautiful photographs. I love castles. I mean, they are so evocative of the history of England. And this castle was, as we heard a moment ago, actually garrisoned. And we can see photographs over the years. We can see the First World War with Lord Kitchener. And the castles have exhibitions which you can visit whilst you're there. And if you're a member of English Heritage, and I suggest that you should be if you're visiting the UK, then you can come across and visit Richmond Castle. And we've got the prices and opening times and North Yorkshire Travel Guide. And as I just mentioned, you can enjoy a year of adventure if you actually join, and it's from £4 a month for an individual and probably around about £7 or £8 a month for a couple. Let's go to the visit. So this is Richmond Castle, and I'm going to go back. Okay, now some of these pages that we're actually visiting actually have videos. If they have videos on, then I will play the video for us. Right, whilst I'm sorting that out, I do go around and I do shoot video, and I use the Hoem gimbal to do that. And you can see that down in the carousel now. If you want to know more about English castles, then there is a book with beautifully photographed pictures of the castles. There are 2 books actually in the carousel, and those will give you some information before you actually come here. And then you've got information about English heritage and other books which will be of interest. One of the things that you do need when you actually travel to UK is, well, you bring it with you anyway. You need a rucksack. I've got an Under Armour rucksack. And the other delicacy, this is something you can try, is Romney's Pocket Kendal Mint Cake. Now, the reason for including this is that this is actually made in Kendal, which is in Lancashire, which is where I'm from. And Kendal Mint Cake was the It first became well known when Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Everest, and it's a quick energy fix. And no matter what you're doing, if you have Kendal mint cake, it's been around for, well, since Edmund Hillary climbed Everest, which was in the 50s, I think. It is a reliable and easily carried source of energy, and it's got an amazingly sharp minty taste. Okay, now at the moment I'm using the Samsung phone, but I'm actually tied between getting a new iPhone phone or getting a new Samsung phone. Okay, now also in the carousel you'll find equipment which is essential if you're going to be walking all those miles. One of the beauties of visiting an English heritage property or a National Trust property is that you're actually going to be doing quite a bit of walking. Okay, so you need your Fitbit on, and this is the Inspire 2, so you can actually measure how far you're traveling in a typical day. If you're actually touring National Trust and English heritage properties, you'll be doing about 10 miles a day, which has got to be good. Got to be good. When we go to Stonehenge, we do about 7 miles when we visit Stonehenge. It's just great being out in the fresh air as we can now and getting about these properties. Now, English history goes way back, but the first sort of noticeable part about English history is the arrival of the Romans. And the Romans conquered England, defeated Boudicca, and then set about colonizing the whole of the country. If you get a name that ends in Chester, like Chester itself, or Manchester, or Colchester, or Bicester, which is the exception, I suppose, then Chester is an anglicised word for castra, and castra in Latin is camp. So whenever you see Manchester, Leicester, Godmanchester, if it's got Chester at the end, it was a Roman camp in the early years of the 1st century AD. So those are the ones to go on your list. So let's go back to the English Heritage site. And I'm going to go picture in picture again. That way. That's better. Okay. And go back to the English Heritage site. I just mentioned a moment ago, I'm going to flick back a little bit and go back to the beginning, to the front page. And I'm going to go and take you on a tour of Roman Britain. So we're going to go to Hadrian's Wall. And I'm going to scroll down and, oh, wait a minute. That's not quite where I want it to be. Just a minute. It's Hadrian's Wall. Okay. That's better. Okay. Now, the Romans colonized Britain, and you can see the map there of the cestus. You've got Chester's Fort, you've got Belsae Castle and Gardens. All these are on the Hadrian's Wall. Now, Hadrian's Wall was built. Effectively, there was the problem that the Romans found it difficult to actually colonize Scotland. In other words, they could not bring the Scottish population to boot. So the only way they could actually manage the Scottish population and stop them invading England was to actually build a wall. And the wall goes from the east of England across to the west of England, one continuous wall built by the Romans and with forts along the way. And forts would house the soldiers whose job it was to actually man the wall. And there were battles, pitched battles, between the Picts of Scotland and the Romans. And the Romans came from all around Europe, and they were free men and they were conscripts, and they built this wall. And you can see that if you go to the English Heritage Site, you can see all about the Roman settlements on the wall. And it's basically, the way we did it, we actually stopped at a hotel in Carlisle and then drove out a bit further each day and went to each individual fort, which is on the Hadrian's Wall. And there are trails that you can take. There are car trails, there are walking trails, there are museums, everything that you need to find out more about Roman life and stories from Hadrian's Wall. And okay, let's go with this one. Why was it? So what I'm going to do, because I can, is we're going to find out why Hadrian's Wall was actually built. So excuse me a moment. I'm off over to YouTube. I'm coming back to the studio. I'm going to go to media. I'm going to go to YouTube. And I'm going to bring that video into my studio. Okay, I said I wasn't going to play a video, but I'm going to get this one right, I do assure you. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to bring the video up on screen. So you've now got 3 of us on screen. And what I'm going to do is put the video full screen. Okay, got that? And then because of the feedback, I'm going to switch my microphone off and just press play. So let's find out from English Heritage, who you should join if you want to tour England, why Hadrian's Wall was built. It will stop me blabbing for Britain. Let's get the truth.
The greatest military expansion in Roman history. When he died in AD 117, his successor Hadrian was left with the daunting task of defending the empire. Special attention needed to be paid to the northernmost frontier in Britannia, where there was resistance from the barbarian natives. Hadrian came to Britain in AD 122 and decided to solve the barbarian problem by building a giant wall, a project without precedents in Europe. Initially, most of the wall was to be built in stone, but the western 30-mile section was to be made from turf. In front of both was a deep ditch, and at each mile a gate was protected by a small guard post called a mile castle. Between each pair of mile castles lay 2 towers. The stone wall was to be 15 Roman feet high and 10 Roman feet wide. The building of Hadrian's Wall was a complicated process that involved the entire Roman army of Britain, approximately 15,000 men. These men were not just highly trained soldiers, but also skilled craftsmen. It was decided that forts, such as Chesters, would be placed astride the wall, each housing as many as 1,000 men. The designers had to contend with fierce torrents of fast rivers, hard rock, and mile upon mile of rolling hills. Hadrian's Wall defined the edge of the empire in Britannia and gave the Romans control over customs, immigration, and smuggling. From the point of view of the barbarians north of the wall, it must have seemed like an almost superhuman accomplishment and a daunting symbol of Rome's imperial might.
Now this time I've remembered to switch my microphone back on, and I'm back on screen. I learned something then. I didn't realize I didn't realize it was a children's video, but because it was a children's video, it told the story not just in words but in pictures as well. So now you know, and I know, why Hadrian's Wall was actually built. And thank you to English Heritage for actually creating the video, which I was able to share with you. Now, I will be sharing videos from time to time to actually tell the story, because they bring the story to life. So let's go back and go picture in picture again. So we're going to go back to the English Heritage site. I'm not going to play another video this time. What we're actually going to do is we're going to scroll up on the English Heritage site and go back one. Right, so I'm going back in the browser, and we're now going to go down to these are they said that the stone forts, and there were forts built from turf. Okay, so some of the forts you've got, well, you see when you actually see one in a moment, you'll realise how much work went into building these. I'm looking for one in particular. So forgive me for a moment. Well, I want a good example. And a good example of a Roman fort is, we're getting there, we're getting closer. And I know it's here somewhere because I was here earlier. Despite appearances, I do actually do some planning for these broadcasts. And okay, Lanercost Priory was built along the wall, and Belsay Hall, Eden on the wall, and Derwent Gate, Denton Hall. I'm just going to go back. I may have missed it, so my apologies for this, but you are seeing hopefully some photographs which actually give you an idea of the ruins that are actually left behind of the Roman forts. And let's go to, I was looking for one in particular. Let's see if I can find it. I'm going to go to Housesteads. So I'm going to key in, and if I could spell, would be good. So I'm going to go Housesteads. Right, Housesteads Roman Fort and Adrian's Wall, and okay. I have actually visited the wall with my sons and walked the length of the wall, or not walked length, driven part of it and walked quite a bit of it. But this is the layout of the Roman fort, and it gives you an insight into what the fort actually looked like. The outline of the fort, you can't actually see the fort itself. That's long gone. This was, as you just heard a moment ago, this was built in the year 132 AD, which is about 1,890 years ago. But you can see that there is a museum, and the museum at Housesteads is well worth a visit. We've been there, and you can see more of the ruins as well. So Housesteads Roman Fort is worth a visit. Adrian's Wall is worth a visit. When you visit the UK, do make a point of going up to Adrian's Wall. You're looking at history from the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. You're looking at when the Romans couldn't control Scotland and then put the border in. There's always been raids from Scotland into England. That prevented quite a few of them. And the Romans did so much for England. I mean, if you visit Chester or Manchester or Colchester, then you'll see how much of it actually survives. And you can get a sense of what it was like to actually live there in Roman times. Romans gave us central heating. Underfloor heating was invented by the Romans. And if we go over to the fort, which was just sort of north of here, north of where I am in Wiltshire, then you can see the underfloor heating actually, how it actually worked. And it was fed from the springs. The water was heated, and then underfloor heating, because they didn't have multi-story buildings. Most of their buildings were actually single story. So it made it a lot better to actually heat. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the English Heritage site, and we'll come back to that next week, hopefully in a full broadcast. And I'm going to share my screen again. Now, Angelica and I are members of the National Trust, okay, which is what I'm going to share now. And I'm going to come in and go over to the screen share. I'm going to take myself off solo and go picture in picture again. And this is the English Heritage website, which speaks for itself. It's a beautifully designed website that's close to us. And they're talking about visiting this summer. And there are so many things to see and do if you join the National Trust before you come over here. It is quite amazing, the number of things that you can get involved in. And you can do a tour of the UK just based on National Trust properties. So we're touring Wiltshire. So Let's have a look. First of all, I'm going to start close to home. I'm going to start in Wiltshire to show you where we are. So days out, switching in the browser. And where do you want to go? I want to go to Wiltshire. Wiltshire. And or I could use my location. I'm going to go for Wiltshire. And these are places which you can visit in Wiltshire. Spoke a moment ago about Avebury. Avebury is a large stone circle, larger than Stonehenge, but from about the same period, from about 4,500 years ago. And essentially, again, the stone was imported into Wiltshire and the circle was built. The circle is larger than at Stonehenge and in actual fact has a village in the middle of it and a pub. The stone circle actually has a pub within its boundary, and you can walk around the stone circle and you can actually visit the Avebury Manor, which is a country house, and just so much to see and do. So Avebury is a place to go to, and if you visit Avebury, you must look and go for an eye up as well. Laycock Abbey we went to in a show a couple of weeks ago. Laycock Abbey is in Wiltshire. It was a nunnery. An order of nuns were in this particular location. The house was built for them. And then at the beginning of his photographic career, Fox Talbot, this is the place where the first ever photograph was taken by Fox Talbot. And it was a plate photograph, cameras going back a long time ago, before negatives, before Instamatics, before Kodak cameras, before any camera you can name. The first ever photograph was taken out of a window of this building. And then the plate was developed. It went through three baths to develop and fix. And the first photograph, no matter what the French say, the first photograph was actually taken here. And then you can visit the Fox Talbot Museum, which is a photography museum. And there's also a village which is inhabited. And this is the place where part of Harry Potter was also shot. And if I scroll down, we might get one or two photographs as I go down here. And there we are. You should recognize that cauldron. It did star in Harry Potter, one of the early films. And there's also the history and treasures of Laycock Abbey. So great day out. It's basically an enclosed area. Once you've gone through the entrance, you totally cut off. And it's a great place for children to actually explore. There are plenty of trails around the property for children to follow. And it's one of our favorite places to visit. It's only about 20 miles down the road from us. Everything's 20 miles, if you ask me. Courts Garden is basically a most beautiful garden, situated again in Wiltshire, about 10 miles away. And I did have the chance to actually video and film in this garden about 5 weeks ago, and the video is on YouTube. So that's the Courts Garden, and if you check out on YouTube, you'll see the video that I shot on that particular day. And it's got all the facilities. Most of the English Heritage and National Trust properties have refreshment facilities, bathroom facilities, but refreshments. And the thing about English Heritage and National Trust is they don't overcharge you. Yeah. So you can eat at the English Heritage and National Trust properties. A short walk away from the Courts Garden is a manor house, and it's the most magnificent manor house. It's called Great Chalfield, and again, we're fortunate we can go there quite frequently, and you can walk around the gardens. There are plenty of country walks around here, and the house is open. You can take a guided tour of the house. The house is actually a private residence, but you can tour the public part of the house. So it's looked after by the National Trust, And as we scroll down, there's a checklist of what you can do. There are events that you can actually take part in, and you've got the history of Great Chalfield, which you can check out at your leisure. I'll put links in so that you can actually take a look. But the property had, and you can see the spire, there's a church in the distance, but the property also had, it's still got its own church, which is a living church. It serves the estate thereabouts, and you can go in, you can visit the church, you can pay your respects, and it's definitely most worth a visit. And you can make a day of it by going to the Courts Garden too. Okay, and as I say, the National Trust do maintain the properties. The gardens are a delight to actually see any time of the year, and the furnishings have been left as furnished in the 1920s and 1930s. So well worth a look-see. And that is Great Chalfield, which is about 2 miles away from the Courts Garden. So you can go to the Courts Garden and then you can walk through England's green pastures to Great Chalfield, leave your car behind, walk out into the countryside, walk 2 miles to Great Chalfield, mind the cows on the way. Great place to actually visit. Okay, Westwood Manor, I've seen in passing. There's some beautiful countryside around here, and Prior Park is on our list. Let's see more, and I'm going to bring you up something which we enjoy visiting, and Bath. Throughout, just go over here. Throughout Wiltshire, there are white horses, chalk white horses, and they have been sculpted into the hillsides. There are 7 or 8 of these scattered throughout Wiltshire, so you can go on a trail. Let's see all the white horses in Wiltshire, and it's a walking tour. Okay, because there's no, I mean, it is a white horse, there's nothing else but the white horse, but you can go and snap the white horse, you can go and visit it, you can go and walk around the area. It's public, so you can visit it. Right, one of our favorites, and I've got many videos of this, is Durham Park. And Durham Park is just magnificent. I mean, look at the building there. Now, it's a deer park, so there are herds of deer which actually roam the estate, and it's difficult to miss them. Okay, you can actually walk from the entrance, which is about 1.5 miles from the house, downhill. Okay, you can catch the bus back if you want, but it is downhill, and then you're greeted by this magnificent house which is open, and you can tour the rooms. And we were fortunate 3 years ago, they had a problem with the roof, and they had to take the whole roof off, and we were able to go up in a lift to the roof and see everything close up. So a day out at Durham Park is for children. Again, it's basically an enclosed area, so children are very safe within and can go off and work. You can go gardeners, again, mention those. At all National Trust properties, they've got their own gardeners. You've got what you can see in Durham House. You've got bee-friendly pasture to walk through, and you can go on a walking tour around Durham Park. And again, you can eat because there is food there. You can stop off at the shop. There is always goods to be bought, souvenirs and useful items too in the shop. And it is steeped in history. And we've got an explanation of why is Durham Park special. And it is special because, and I'm going to read here, honey-coloured Baroque house, formal garden and dramatic parkland. Durham Park is on the western edge of the Cotswolds, nestled into the folds of the landscape. And it was actually Durham Park's significance dates from the creation of the house by William Blathwaite. Okay, so it was built as a family home by this gentleman here, William Blathwaite, and then passed through generations and was eventually donated to the National Trust to actually look after it. So that is a brilliant place to visit in England. Join the National Trust, one-off fee, and you can visit all these properties without paying a penny more. And right, and we've got to go now to this is our favorite place. Look at that. It's just a beautiful photograph. This is Stourhead, and you've got to visit here. If you come into the UK, you must come and see Stourhead. I mean, you can see it. This is a summer photograph, but in autumn with all the colours of the leaves. It's a delight to see, and there are walks all around the lake. There are grottos. There are places to stop off and have a picnic. There are follies. You can see one on the hill there, which has a collection of statues, houses a collection of statues. And again, what you need to know, and you can see the Christmas events that take place. And this is definitely worth a day out. You've got to go and explore because you can walk through the gardens. You've got the countryside all around Stourhead, so you can go for a long walk, and then you can visit the house. And the house has, people used to go on the Grand Tour, and the Grand Tour was to actually go from England and tour Europe, especially down to Italy, and they brought things back with them. And some travelled to the Far East. In an age of stagecoach and horses as opposed to cars, they brought back some amazing things as they returned by boat because they couldn't carry things, and they're in the house. Some of those examples are in the house. As I say, all these properties are fantastic for children, for exploring, for learning, and you've got, again, every place that we're going to is going to have a restaurant, and also this cottage. This is the place you want to stay. Okay, we were here a couple of weeks ago. You can rent this cottage. It's just on the edge of the estate. And okay, this is a luxurious cottage, well appointed. You've got full access to the grounds at Stourhead, so you can stay locally. And I've got to say this to tell you, let you know, there is across the road a wonderful public house where you can actually have a pint of your favorite beer or even Guinness in the evening. And one thing that is surprising is the collection. If you go into the house, you will see this. And this is a mosaic. Mosaic was actually created in Italy and then brought over to England, and it's been installed in one of the windows of Stourhead House, and it was done by Francis Edgington, and it's been totally restored. And you can discover more about the window at Stourhead. And at the risk of doing something silly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press play, and hopefully you can hear this.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm Collections and House Officer at the House, and today I'm in the library. So the library was built by Richard Colt Hoare, who is next to me here, as an extension of the original Palladian mansion in the 1790s to hold his vast collection of rare volumes. We house about 6,500 books in the collection, which we care for every year. Today, we thought we'd focus on the architecture of the room and look at the lunette, which is a inspiration to all who
Okay,
visit.
I'm back. Hopefully,
Thank you for
by
visiting
actually watching the video, you got some sense.
Email.
But
Please tell us what inspires you in the
I
comments
can,
below.
yeah. Okay, so that was from the Stourhead collection. And if you go to National Trust site and you search for Stourhead, then that will give you an idea of what you can see inside the house. The house is magnificent. It is well worth a visit. As I bring back the shared image again, okay, so I'm going to screen share again as we come to the final part of this broadcast. I'm going to put it I'm going to put it so that I'm picture in picture, and we're just going to visit one more property, hopefully with sound. And I'm going to go back a page, and we're going to go up. So this is the National Trust site. We're going to go for days out, and I'm going to go for days out this time, not in Wiltshire, which is where I live, but days out in Cheshire, as we actually visit the final property. And next week I will play that video with sound. Okay, so we're going to Cheshire, and one of the marvels of Cheshire is Tatton Park. This is most definitely a day out. Tatton Park is near Manchester. It's close to Manchester, about 20 miles away. It's 50 acres of gardens, 1,000 acres of deer park, a rare breed farm, and a medieval old hall. And again, you've got to book ahead. You've got things that you can see and do whilst you're there. And you can visit the house, you can tour the gardens, and you can meet the endangered species as well on a 1930s recreation of a working farm, and the deer herd as well. We saw the deer herd at Stourhead, and they are to be seen and wondered at. So wildlife, you can see the herd of deer in the photograph there. Teaching is a big part of Tatton, school visits, and you can hire the venue for any occasion, and the most popular event, of course, is to hire it for a wedding and for groups. Collections there and places nearby. Next time we will visit, just to give you a teaser, we will visit Quarry Bank. And Quarry Bank is an amazing place. It's an enigma. It's 20 miles from Manchester, and it was a working mill in the 17th and 18th centuries. It's got a river that runs by it. It's powered by a water steam engine, and the whole system still works. They still produce cloth at the mill. The mill was manned by local people. The owner of the mill built a village for the people to live in, and the village is still there and still inhabited. And also there were schools for the children as well, because the children who worked in this mill were from 7 years up. So their education was important. And there was a TV program not so long ago which showed basically what life was like working at Quarry Bank Mill. It was filmed at Quarry Bank Mill. So I'm just going to scroll down and give you a taste of what we're going to look at next time. So this is Quarry Bank, magnificent building, and what you need to know, things you can do. And you can see photographs. You've got the mill itself, you've got the apprentice house and garden, and you've got Quarry Bank House. So there's plenty to see and do, plenty of walks to go on, and plenty of gardens to see. And again, you can eat and you can shop, and you've got the full history. And I'm going to come to that, to Samuel Gregg, who was the benefactor and owner of the mill. And basically he was, in terms of, if we think back to the 17th and 18th centuries, mills were places that, especially weaving. I mean, cotton was brought over from the USA to Lancashire in England, and the cotton mills in the 18th and 19th century were the UK industry. And Quarrybank Mill is a working, surviving example of cotton goods being produced. So we'll talk about that next time. I've got a question that's coming from Chris, and I've got to say, I have to research the answer. What is the meaning of the white horses? I think that the original white horses, which are thousands of years old, we don't know. I can research for you. If you Google Wiltshire white horses, some of the white horses, there's one 2 miles away from us, which was actually built, created in recent years. So they span thousands of years. It's just, I think it's a symbol of Wiltshire. I'll check and come back to you on that, Chris. And right, okay, so take Chris's comment off. If you've been watching this broadcast live today, I'd just like to say a heartfelt thank you. It took several attempts, 3 attempts, to actually get this broadcast live. I thank you for joining me. If you're looking for anything to do with the National Trust or English properties, then just look down the carousel and you find items of interest, which I recommend that you take a look at. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watched today. It is my pleasure to actually be live on Amazon Live. I just enjoy it so much. Look forward to every single show that I do. The next show I'm doing tomorrow is at 1 p.m. Eastern, and that's the one where I go out and about with a camera. So what can you look forward to tomorrow? Right. Thank you for watching. I'm going to play you out with 2 minutes of the video, which you can see the full 30 minutes in the broadcast tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern through to 3 p.m. All about country walking. And thank you for joining me today. Let's bring the video up on screen. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to bring the video up on screen and go off full screen. So we're still in England, and this is, well, I actually explained the video, but this is a walk along the canal outside my front door. And I went out there last Saturday. I shot this film using the home gimbal, which is down in the carousel, using an Android phone, relative which is down in the carousel. And well, enjoy watching. I'm going to play 2 minutes now, and I'm going to play the rest of it tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. Thank you for watching today, and I'll see you all again soon.
7 locks in total. It's the longest set of locks in the UK, and you can do the walk. So here I am, and hello on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and Twitch. Despite the description, this is Stephen live from Devizes, and as we just pan round, we can see the road bridge over the Kenilsnaven Canal. Now, the Kenilsnaven Canal, the idea came in 1726 to connect the River Avon in Bristol with the River Thames, which flows through London, of course. And it took another 68 years before they actually started work. The canal was opened in 1810 after 16 years of work by navigators or navvies. And in those days, it was designed to actually carry cargo from Bristol to London and from London to Bristol. And barges used to ply between Bristol and London. We are at Cairnhill Locks, which is a flight of, I think it's 13 or 14 locks. And the purpose of a lock is to allow a boat to go downhill. And as you're about to see, the engineering in this is quite marvellous. It's quite simple and straightforward, and they did in fact manage to get the barges down the hillside, and I'm hoping to make it down the hillside too. So this is a lock. You have lock gates at both ends, and you can see the level of the canal is the same as the level of the dock. Now if a boat was coming down, what would happen is that this gate here would be opened, and it can only be opened with a key, and the water would flow out through the gate into the canal below, and this would drop to the level of the canal below. And then you close the gate, take the boat through, close the gate behind you, and depending on who was coming through next, the water would either go back up again or stay at that level. Okay, now canal locks, flight of 13, 6 behind us and 7 in front of this particular section, so 27 locks in total. It's the longest set of locks in the UK, and quite probably the longest set of locks in the world. And this is the exact route I take when I'm practicing for my walking. It's half marathons and marathons. So imagine that this is a beautiful sunny day. The sun is, I'm trying my best to actually do that. Okay, so the canal opened in 1810, and it was primarily a trade route. Ships would land at Bristol docks, be offloaded onto boats on the canal, and the boats would head for London. Okay, now this section of the canal itself is 87 miles, connecting the River Avon with the River Thames. And on a beautiful day, it is the most pleasurable of walks. And the problem was that they finished the canal, and then somebody went and invented the steam engine. George W. Stephenson amongst them. And of course, the steam engine and the advent of the railways meant you could get to Bristol, to London to Bristol, a lot faster. And as a direct result of that, the canal fell into disuse. People stopped using it. It was cheaper to go by road. Well, it was also cheaper to go by rail. The problem was that the GWR, which is a Great Western Railway, built a line between Bristol and London, and built by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and the railways took over from the canals. And the canals went into disrepair for a long time. Okay, now, as well as actually, I was panned round, as well as actually having a holiday barge on the canal, you can actually live on the canal. And these are permanent moorings where the boat owners pay to actually stay. They've got all services, they've got electricity and water and gas, and people can live here the whole year round. Beautiful in summer, probably a bit cold in winter, but it is an alternative. And of course, you can always take the boat out for a run anytime. I decided that they would reopen the 87-mile stretch or length of the Kenny-Snavon Canal, and they set about doing that. Now you can go onto Google. If you Google Kenny-Snavon Canal, you will see that the locks were in disrepair, the gates were hanging off, and it looked very unkempt and unloved, and well, it was, but it's been fully restored. The Queen officially opened the refurbished canal in around 1990, and now every summer, when it's not, even when it's raining like today, people will go along the canal, travelling from the Thames down to Bristol at the heady speed of between 3 and 4 miles an hour. Going on a holiday barge is true relaxation because you're not going at any great speed. Now, this navigable set of locks from top to bottom takes about 2 hours to get through manually. I've seen people actually do it on their own, button attached. I'll come back to that in a minute. Here's the Kennington Canal, the Cairnhill lock.
Right, okay. I actually played a video and got the sound back. Point to me, Chris. Okay, now the full video I'll play tomorrow night, but this was shot using the home gimbal, which is down in the carousel. So for today, 2 lessons learnt. Always switch your sound back on after you've played a video. And the second lesson is that if you're going to go live on Amazon Live and you've had a problem, don't try and go live straight away. Wait an hour and then go live. Thank you for watching this broadcast. I do look forward to seeing you again. If you've enjoyed the broadcast, if you want a notification of tomorrow's broadcast, then please do follow. The follow button is under me. And that just means you get notification of my broadcast. Doesn't mean anything else. I can't contact you. I can't message you. I can't do anything, but you will get notifications of my future broadcasts. Chris, thank you. Chris is a great friend and a great help during these live broadcasts, and so is Corinda. So to everybody who has watched live today at any point during the broadcast, thank you very much. I'm so grateful that I'm able to broadcast on Amazon Live. I'm learning every day, as we all are. So from Wiltshire in England, I'll take that sign off. I'm going to say take care, and I'll see you all again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern here on Amazon Live. Country Walks with Stephen. You can see the rest of the video. You can see the equipment I use. You can see how I'm able to broadcast live even when it's raining hard. And that's an understatement. I can broadcast live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and my websites easily. And I'll tell you how I'm doing that tomorrow. So, bye for now. In fact, I'm going to go full screen and say goodbye for now. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.